Our greatest successes in life are often found in helping others succeed. Welcome to the Life Masters podcast, hosted by Tanya Memme. Discover real-life stories from mentors, leaders, experts, and everyday people who devote their lives to helping others succeed. Every episode takes you on a unique journey, an emotional experience, and tells a story never to be forgotten. Tune in to Life Masters with Tanya Memme and start fast-tracking your journey to success today.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Life Masters. I'm Tanya Memme. Today in the studio, I am so honored to have Joseph McClendon III. I know how busy you are, so thank you.
Stop,
I know, right?
please, come on, stop.
Thank you for coming in. And I had to write down all of your accolades because you have so many. So you're the most sought after ultimate performance specialist. So we're going to get into that. You've also presented to over, not 3.5, because he had to update his resume. It's 4.5 million viewers.
Yes.
I mean, that is just...
Actually, live people, not just viewers.
Live.
Yeah.
Live. Wow. And I've actually seen you speak. You are incredible. I saw you about 4 years ago, and I will never forget it. So you also have a doctorate in neuropsychology. You taught at the University of California, UCLA. And what I do love the most is that you have in your, all the things that I read about you, you say that you hold the keys to what everyone wants.
It's the truth. I know it sounds grand and flamboyant, but it's the truth. And it is, from my standpoint, having been a mentor and a coach for many, many years, everybody wants the same thing. We want more happiness, we want better bodies, we want more money, we want better lifestyle, better relationships. And all of those things are centered around something we'll talk about here in a minute, that I call the 60-20-20 rule of achievement and success and abundance. And it really is. It's 60% psychology, what goes on between our ears. It's 20% energy and emotion, and 20% attractiveness. And those things, that's the key. You make a shift in any one of them, even just a little bit of shift, you change the trajectory of your outcome.
Incredible. Okay, so I want to learn, let's go way back to the very beginning, and then I want to know how you came up with that through your life, because I'm sure there's a whole story behind that.
Yes.
So, so tell me how this all began for you.
Well, I grew up not too far from here. I grew up in a place called Lancaster, California.
Yep.
Yeah, you know where that is. And I grew up there, and I had, I want to say a great childhood. My father was in the service and a very disciplined guy, so he taught me a good work ethic and everything. But when I was 17 and a half years old, Tanya, 3 grown men tried to take my life because of the color of my skin. And they left me for dead. And very long story short, that left me feeling worthless. It left me feeling like there was something wrong with me, and I became homeless. I lived in a cardboard box at a drive-in.
At 17?
At 17.
Where was your father?
My father, actually, my father was in the Air Force. He'd retired out there, and he'd moved to a place called Ridgecrest, California, further out there.
So he had to go, you chose to stay.
I chose to stay there, but nobody knew I was homeless, not even my family. And that drove me to a point that I, quite honestly, was close to suicidal.
But why didn't you tell anybody?
Because of my pride. And that is, by the way, psychology. That was my psychology, my pride. Nobody knew.
So what happened that day, though, that you were taken, or?
Well, what changed with me was this. I was homeless for about 4.5 months. It doesn't seem like a long time, but every day when you're homeless is an eternity.
That is a long time, yeah.
And something happened to me. Somebody gave me a book. Somebody that I didn't know, it was a kind stranger, gave me a book, and the book was called Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, yes.
And I always tell people, I got the book, and I read the book, and I did the exercises in the book, because I was desperate. And the exercises set me on a path. And then when I went back to the person, because it changed my life, within weeks, everything changed. And mostly what changed was my self-esteem and my opinion of myself, my belief about myself. And when I went back to the gentleman to thank him, I said, what do I do for you? Because that's the way I was raised. I was raised that you pay it forward. And what he said to me was, he said, you do the same thing that I've done for you, for as many people as you possibly can for the rest of your life.
Wow.
And I was, by this time, getting close to 18 years old, 19 years old. And I didn't really take it seriously then, Tanya. But as time went on, I did. And that's why I do what I do right now. So I first realized I had my own challenges, and that's why I went after psychology as my major, if you will. And
So you went back to school then?
Yes.
Okay.
And I always say, physician, heal thyself. those of us that are in this line of work, if we're honest with ourselves, we started it because we needed to fix ourselves. And so I did, and I studied traditional psychology first, and then I moved into neuropsychology, which fascinated me.
Right.
And the difference is, traditional therapy, I have one way of interacting with you, and that is through my voice. But neuropsychology, look at neuro as your 5 senses. And so as a neuropsychologist, I have 5 ways to enter your world on a personal level and help you get your outcome. And I was driving in here today, and I drove past my office. I had an office here in Los Angeles here, where I help people get over fears and phobias and emotional challenges for about 6 years, while I was teaching at UCLA, by the way. And I enjoyed it, and I still do. I've moved on to bigger audiences now, but that's where it all started, and I love doing it because I still, at the risk of sounding too noble, that's my passion in life, is to do what that guy said to me, was to give back as much as possible.
Did you know at a young age, though, that you were meant to do something great?
I did.
Right?
I did.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, up until that point where those guys took that from me, I always thought because I was raised that way. My parents taught us, myself and my siblings, that we were special and that we were meant to be something, and they taught us that. And I believed that, with the exception of, let's just say, in this country, there is actually it's all over the world right now, there is a constant badgering of our souls, at the risk of sounding too grand.
No, it's true.
It really is,
really
to keep us down, to keep us feeling like we're not enough, and all those things. And so I was able to resist that up until that point, and then, it's moderately, but at that point it shattered it for me. And I compare myself, I don't use myself as some shining example of the way that things should be, but I do use myself as an example of what's possible, because somebody helped me, and now I'm here to help other people.
And so that was what just changed the entire, and why you do what you're doing today. But you did know at a young age that you were meant for something more.
Yeah, I remember when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and it was all because of the input of my parents. 6 or 7 years old, I felt like, well, I'm going to do something great. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do something great. And I believed that.
So what do you say to people, because you know this, there's a lot of people suffering right now, and they have no direction, they have no this. What do you say to people to get, what's that first step that it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
And you went through it.
I did. It's simple, but not easy. And so, to answer your question, the first thing I say to people is, first off, relax, chill out. It's because if I was thinking about this the other day. People say this all the time. What would you say to your younger self?
Right.
Well, you're your younger self now, because you're going to be older. So say it to you now. But if I was going to say something to my younger self, it would be, chill out, dude. Everything's going to be fine. Just relax and go after it.
But how do you say that when you're homeless?
Well, because even then, because what happens is, when we are in turmoil, when we're in challenge, we're only looking at the challenge. We're only looking at what's wrong. And that creates what I call the antithesis of awesome sauce. It creates this flood of chemicals and solutions, endorphins and adrenalines in our body that causes us to remain feeling bad. But as soon as we go, let me look at what I want, even though if we don't believe it, if we just keep looking at what we want, then those same chemicals, I call it awesome sauce, change, and we feel better, and we start to feel hopeful, and then we will do more, and then we'll have more.
Now, did you start to feel hopeful at all before he gave you the book, or was it really that book?
No, it was the book. It was the book. And the book caused me to really, just quite simply, from a psychological standpoint, it's just changed my focus. Instead of, feeling sorry for myself, and I have the right to do that, as we all do. We have the right, bad is bad. Bad stuff happens.
Bad is bad.
And just, again, we have 5 senses, but one of them is probably the most prominent one in most people, is what we look at. And so I always say, whatever you look at with your eyes open or your eyes closed is what you're going to feel. And what you're going to feel is what you're going to do. People drive into telephone poles because they're looking at the pole. They don't want to look at that pole, but they get scared, and it locks their body into doing that. So using that same philosophy, you just look at what you want. So very simply, it is to get, look, people would come into my office all the time, and they go, I don't want to feel this way. And I go, how can I help you? And they go, I'm depressed. I don't want to feel this way. And I go, okay, great. What do you want? And they go, I'm suicidal. I don't want to feel this way. And I go, okay, great. What do you want? And they go, I told you. I hate myself. I hate my life. And I go, okay, what do you want? And they go, and they get angry with me.
Right. They're not answering your question.
No, but here's what it is. They're telling me what they don't want. And because they're looking at what they don't want, literally looking at it with their mind, that's the way they feel. So then I get them, and okay, so share with me what you really want. I'll interrupt their pattern. I'll share with me, and they'll go, well, I want to be happy. And as soon as they do that, I know the chemicals are flowing. And then I say, tell me what that's like. And obviously I'm making this, very quick right now, but taking them through the process of helping them look at what they want. That's what changes people. And then through neurolinguistics, or what I call neural encoding, I anchor that in them so that they automatically default to that versus what they were defaulting to before.
Wow. Okay. So, wow. No, it's awesome. But so one of the biggest steps that you can tell somebody is to really change your frame of mind.
Chill first.
Right.
Relax first. Because I'll ask you this.
Okay.
Have you ever done this? Have you ever been sitting in your house or somewhere and you go, I got to go get an ink pen out of the kitchen. You stand up and you go in the kitchen, and then you're in the kitchen going,
why did
I come in here? Okay.
All the time. That's me.
Yeah, but that's everybody. And that is in the neuropsychology field, that's something that we call a pattern interrupt, or a mind shift or a break. And that is whatever you're focused on in the moment. If something happens, or if something radical happens, you stand up, something, a sound happens or something, four things happen in that moment. Number one, you're no longer in that mindset. You're taken away from that. Number two, you create what's called a scotoma, which is a blank spot in the mind. Number three, that scotoma is a vacuum, and it's going, what? It's curiosity. And then number four, you're highly suggestible in that moment. So if you literally make yourself feel bad on purpose, think about what you don't want, and then shake yourself out, you create that scotoma, and then make yourself happy, then you put the happiness in there. So the very thing that would make you sad or unresourceful in the very beginning now makes you happy.
You're just awesome. I love all that. I'm soaking it up. So what inside of you, though, if I were to ask you this, like, I know that he gave you the book and there was that moment and you're like, well, I'm going to, pay it forward or whatever. But there are plenty of times when people help other people and those people still don't feel like they need to help anyone. Like, what about you inside of you? There's got to be more that has caused you to just keep going and helping and devoting your life to making a difference in other people's lives.
That's a great question, Tanya. And I think, again, I had great upbringing, great parents who taught us to give back, and that's just a part of who we are. But to take that a step further, I think that if more people, listen, all of us like helping other people. I don't care how selfish you are. We do. That's part of the human condition.
Yeah.
And so the more of it we do, that old saying that the secret to living is giving, the more of it that we do, and the more of it that we recognize that we're helping somebody else, the better we feel. And so for me, I would say it's my upbringing, but then I also had to condition it in. Because remember, I was 18 by the time that happened, and I was still a selfish teenager. It was all about me.
Yeah, you're going through it.
Yeah, and you're going through it. So I think what I say to people is this: try it out. Experiment.
Giving, even if you feel like you don't have anything.
Exactly, and that's a really good point, because most people feel like, I'll give when I have enough.
Exactly, so true.
But it's the other way around.
It is the other way around. Couldn't agree more.
I always say that the pursuit of more, and specifically I'll say this, the pursuit of money right now, and don't get me wrong, I love having money, it's great, I like nice stuff and everything, but the pursuit of money, even and especially in the ways that we're taught to pursue it nowadays, let me start here. There's many roads to success, there really is, but the pursuit of money is the slowest. It truly is. But it's the number one thing that most of us are pursuing these days. But it's only like only the upper 5% of people are financially abundant, and the upper 1%, 0.5%, are the ones that are healthy, wealthy, and all those things. And so associated with pursuing money is crime, is failed relationships, poor health, obesity, all of those things, stress, all of those things, in the pursuit of it. So instead, I'm not saying don't go after it. I'm just saying let's go after it a different way. And because it's easy for somebody on the other side that has money to go, listen, it's not about the money. It is
Oh, I
about the
know.
money.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, because you got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is about the money when you don't have it.
it
But I'm
is,
just saying,
yeah.
happily go after it and you'll do it faster. You know, my brand is, you asked me before, is further faster.
Yes.
Do you want what you want sooner rather than later? And the answer with everybody's absolutely yes.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
the methodology in doing so is much simpler than we've been led to believe. And it's not what you know. It's what you do with here, here, and here. What you think, how you feel, and how you physically approach the world and you go in the world. That's what changes everything. And you'll do it happily, you'll get it faster, you'll feel better about it. And here's the greatest part about it, is that we affect other people around us, that they get inspired by us as well. I so appreciate you and admire you, what you do. You told me your story about why you do this here.
Yeah.
And you're doing it and you're changing lives, and that's affecting people. And so your journey, the way you're
And this
pursuing
is all,
it,
I'm not getting paid to do this. This is all my passion project. It really is.
and think of the lives that you're changing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm honored to be on your show and to do this, but you're making a difference. And there's, in this day and age, unless you've been living under a rock, you know there's so much negativity.
Oh,
there's so much
yes.
pounding down on us and causing us to feel worse.
So, okay, so what would you say to, I'll tell you what something that's happened to me in this month alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had my computer stolen.
Mm-hmm.
I've had 2 of my friends that owe me a substantial amount of money just
Skip. Yeah.
done. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, I can't get a hold of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gone. I've had this resounding feeling of people taking, stealing. What do you say to people like that? Like, how do people approach, or what would I say to, well, I can't because they're not talking back to me, but what do you say to people that think that that's okay to steal? Because really that's what they did to me.
You know, I literally just left a post on Instagram about that. And the quote that I read was, never argue with people that Harriet Tubman would have left behind. Harriet Tubman ran the Underground Railroad and all that things. And there were a lot of slaves during those days that argued with her and even turned her in. And she wouldn't argue with them. She'd just go, you go do your thing. So I would say to you, don't try and change them. So don't say anything to them. Don't argue with them. It's physician, heal thyself. The work needs to be done with you.
True.
And it starts with chill. And to say these words, this too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
It does. Look, I had some jerks break into my home a year and a half ago and stole everything that I valued. Every material thing that I valued.
Wow, okay. So mine is nothing compared to what you went through. But.
Well, here's what I'll say, is when I heard about it, I was doing a seminar in Florida, and I heard about it over the phone. The sheriffs called me and said, these guys are in my house. And it devastated me because they were, my mom passed away years ago and she was a singer, and I had all my recordings of her, all my, everything that I possessioned. Because it was in a safe and they took everything. And so it devastated me for about 20 seconds. And then something came over me. Don't get me wrong, I'm not happy that they stole my stuff, but I calmed down and I was centered. I was centered enough that I was able to tell the sheriffs something that it was about 3 or 4 months later, I was able to get some of the stuff back. But here's my point. I have a default. And it's what I tell people, let's work on your default so that when bad things happen, and they will, that you default to a place of centeredness and that thing that I just said to you, to recognize that this too shall pass. It's just part of life. This is an episode and it's going to go on. Those haters, those energy vampires and those attention thugs, they're going to do what they do. And sometimes you're going to bounce off of them, but you're going to be okay. And as long as you're looking at what you want, and as long as you're doing the right thing, and as long as you're helping people, whatever your religious beliefs in, God is going to find a way for you. You're going to be fine. This didn't happen here for you right now because you were focused on, the bad people. This was, you're focusing on what you can
on
get.
making a difference, because that's what it's about for me too. So let's talk about, you are incredible. Like,
thank you.
You are one of the most phenomenal speakers I have ever heard. And so what do you love most even about what you do now?
That same thing again about helping people. Here's, I have the privilege of doing very large seminars. I'm in front of easily 15,000 people every month, easily, sometimes more. And the most important part and the thrill of that is not being on stage. It's not. It's when I'm finished, when I'm walking off stage, and I practice what I preach. I say, don't teach theory. I tell people that you got to reward yourself. So that's the happiest time for me. It's done, it's over. And then I know that anybody in that audience, my thing is, I call it tell, show, try, do. And that is, I'm not going to just give you a motivational speech. I don't care if it's 45 minutes or, the event you were in, that was 4 days long.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're like 15 hours a day. 45 minutes or 15 hours a day, 4 days, 6 days, or whatever.
Yeah, you were on a couple of days during that event.
You're going to walk away with something that you're going to use, not just an experience, not just being motivated. You're going to walk away with a skill, a tool, because that's what I'm all about, is I want to give everything that I've learned in terms of methodology to get a result. One of my events that I do of my own, I say to people, bring me your worst nightmare, bring me your worst fear, bring me your worst memory, anything that when you think about it causes you to be unresourceful, because at one point in that day, you're not going to be able to feel it again. And it's not going to be something that I do to you. It's going to be something that I tell you, I show you, we try it together, you're going to get a result, and then you're going to go home with that tool.
Wow. Okay. So you take on private clients as well?
I don't. I did. I
mean, you're so busy now. It's like, I can't.
And I would love to. And there's two reasons why I don't anymore. One is just my schedule, and I value my time. The second is I ain't cheap.
I was thinking that too. I thought, oh my goodness.
And so that's one-on-one. And that's, when I take on it, and I've had the privilege of working with Academy Award-winning movie stars and actors and actresses and Grammy winners and things like that. They're my great friends and my clients. But they're also, it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
So that's one-on-one. At my stage right now, I like to work with larger groups of people. So I like events.
Yeah, events are, I've seen you, you're incredible. So just quickly go through what it's like a day in your life. Like, what do you do? What's your morning ritual?
Well, it depends on whether I'm home or not. Let's go through a pleasurable day. How's that?
Okay, yeah.
When I'm home.
When you're home.
Yeah, I wake up, I only sleep about 4.5 hours, 5 hours a night. And I wake up, it's part of what I teach. Again, I won't teach theory. I wake up excited and energized, and I have a ritual, the morning ritual. It takes me about 20 minutes that I do every morning. And I'm a single dad, so my son lives with me part-time, and so when he's with me, I wake him up, get him ready for school. And
how old's your son?
He's 12.
Okay.
And so he's at that age where he's starting to kick me to the curb. It's just like, it's crazy. And then take him to school, and then when I'm home, because this is, it's bifurcated, it's two different things. When I'm home, my favorite thing to do in life, I'm a musician. Matter of fact, that's what brought me to Hollywood in the first place.
Was your music?
Was music.
That's right.
Yeah, I had a deal with CBS Records back in the olden days. And so I have a music studio in my home. I go in there, I play music for a little while, and then I come out and I just go about my day, the phone calls, the interviews, the things that I do, and then pick the kid up, hang out with him. That's an ideal day with me.
That sounds like a perfect day to me.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You're also an author.
Yes.
You've written numerous books.
6.
6? I love it. So where can we learn more about you? Where can we buy your books? Where can we?
You can find me on my website, which is my name, josephmcclendon.com.
Okay, great.
Or Instagram, please, because what I'm doing is now I'm just pumping out content on Instagram, which is I am Joseph McClendon, and you can join me at any of my events. If you go to my website, you can see some of the events that I'm doing as well.
Okay, awesome. I love this. Thank you so much. I know how busy you are, and thank you for taking time out of your schedule for this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You have just listened to another inspiring episode of Life Masters with Tanya Memme. To access the show notes for this episode or to listen to more shows, simply visit www.tanyamemme.com. Master your own life and be inspired to help others to succeed. Join us again next time here on Life Masters.